Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this episode, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland and Disneyland history with mementos, snapshots, and postcards sent from Disneyland from 1955 to the present. Today, I'm starting off by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join and receive mail from my desk or from my Disneyland trips. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the e-ticket patrons Tania, Eric Daniels, Joe Gamble, Scott Booker, Monica Seitz Vega, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Scott Cagle, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Grace Coate, Ben and Noel Bruning, Patty Wolin, Angela Reynolds, and Aaron Moran. B-ticket patrons The Disney Rewind Podcast, Jeff and Paige Orton, and Joshua, and Exorable Tosh Bell. And the A-ticket patrons, Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Maggie and Henry Byers, Angel DeBlois, and the All Aboard podcast. You can also sign up for my new newsletter for a chance to get some postcards delivered by the USPS to your mailbox. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has Sleeping Beauty Castle. You can see guests on the drawbridge, and guests walking across a small bridge at the left of the castle. On the back it reads, Sleeping Beauty's Castle. Sleeping Beauty's Castle beckons guests into the wondrous realm of Fantasyland, the happiest kingdom of them all. It's postmarked May 24, 1958, with a Hawthorne Pray for Peace cancel and a 2-cent red Jefferson postage stamp. Scott number 1033. I assume they visit the park on Friday, May 23rd. When park hours were from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. The weather was a high of 82 and a low of 57. Park attendance that day was 5,939. It's addressed to a Mr. Philip Neff of Putnam, Connecticut. It reads, Having a real outing with Uncle Phil, Grandpa. In 1957, Disneyland offered a free color book after guests walked through Sleeping Beauty Castle. I personally have 2 copies of the book. The first copy I purchased at a vintage paper fair. The front and back cover has an image of Sleeping Beauty Castle from the movie concept art, with a white castle overlooking hills, trees, and farmland. To the left of the castle are the words Walt Disney's Sleeping Beauty Castle in Gothic script. Once you open to the first page, there is a copyright notice of 1957 and a photo of Walt Disney kneeling next to 3 park guests, holding a plastic Disneyland hat, and in the background is Sleeping Beauty Castle, with guests walking over the drawbridge. The inscription on the page reads, Imagination is the mold from which reality is created. Centuries ago, men of vivid imagination created the fairy tales which live to this day, even though in many cases authors' names have been lost in the mist of antiquity. Of all of these stirring legends of princes and princesses, of witches and fairies, and of the triumph of good over evil, none have ever been so inspirational to me as Sleeping Beauty. From the time I started making motion pictures, I dreamed of bringing Sleeping Beauty to life through the medium of animation. But its scope defied us until recent years, when our creative talent and technical advances made its production possible. Sleeping Beauty is the most beautiful and exciting picture we've ever made, and without doubt our costliest. It has been a definite challenge, but thanks to our talented staff of artists and technicians, it has been met. And now, as a result of our vast research and motion picture production efforts, Sleeping Beauty Castle in Disneyland has been completed. Through the medium of key scenes from our film, we have symbolized its timeless enchantments. Here, behind these castle walls, in the tower and courts, may be seen the joys and tears of the beautiful Princess Aurora, mingled in her great adventure with the powers of good and evil. We hope the magic spell of these scenes and sounds will revive in every beholder's heart some image of his own precious dreams, the dreams from which all enduring fairy tales are made. Walt Disney. The next page has an image of Aurora's cradle as seen through a window. Above is an open storybook, similar to what you'd see on the attraction. The following pages open up to a 4-page image and centerfold of Briar Rose dancing with the owl wearing Prince Philip's cloak and hat on the left, and on the far right, Prince Philip on his horse watching from the other side of a small creek. In between them is a waterfall, some squirrels, and birds also watching. The background is the forest, which is heavily stylized by artist Ivan Earle. The other pages have more still illustrations of a few of the dioramas which were in the castle walkthrough. The final page includes some of the characters from the movie with their names written below them, These characters include King Hubert, King Stephen, Merryweather, Fauna, Flora, and Maleficent. Also on this page is a brief behind the scenes of the movie being made and some information about the center illustration. On the inside of the back cover is a single image of the minstrel and the Disneyland logo surrounded by the words Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom, Anaheim, California, printed in USA. Do you know what's great to put on a special greeting card? Vintage stamps from Enfield Post. Be sure to check out the special Sunday sales at EP Sunday Sale on Instagram. It's a great way to add a little bit of flair to a birthday card, holiday card, or a postcard. That's EP Sunday Sale on Instagram, or you can head over to EnfieldPost.com and explore all the different vintage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and EnfieldPost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has Sleeping Beauty Castle and the Matterhorn. You can see guests walking across the drawbridge, and on the left-hand side of the castle, you can start seeing some of the vines growing up the wall. On the back it reads, Sleeping Beauty's enchanted castle stands guard over the entrance to Fantasyland, sharing the skyline with Disneyland Matterhorn. It's postmarked October 15, 1959, with an Anaheim Pray for Peace cancel and a 3-cent purple Liberty postage stamp, Scott number 1035. I assume they visit the park on Wednesday, October 14th, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. The weather was a high of 94 and a low of 55. Park attendance that day was 9,152. It's addressed to a Mr. and Mrs. Jas J. Jordan of Oakland, California. It reads, Hi, I think we've seen it all. M. The other copy I have of this short book I purchased on eBay. Along with the book was a handwritten note, which reads, I remember walking through Sleeping Beauty's castle for the first time when I was about 10 years old. I lingered at each scene, trying to absorb all the beautiful details. The Disney employee had to keep asking me to move along, as there was a line of people behind me. Thank you for giving this treasured memory from my childhood a new home. Kind regards, Emily. It's incredible to know the history of this copy of the book, especially knowing it only had one owner before joining my collection. One of the other interesting features of this book is the small third-page insert at the top, which reads, A free envelope. If you desire to mail this Sleeping Beauty Castle booklet, is available upon request at the Arts and Crafts store in the Castle Courtyard. Additional copies with envelopes, 25 cents per book. The Arts and Crafts shop would have been about where the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique is today. It's interesting to think a 25-cent book at the store was given away for free in a B-ticket attraction. In 1957, B-tickets were 25 cents. By 1959, with the expansion of the ticket book to include e-tickets, the B-ticket was lowered to 20 cents. I assume by then, the Sleeping Beauty Castle walkthrough no longer included the free book. And to think all of this happened before Sleeping Beauty was released in theaters in 1959. This incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is an online craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Be sure to check out Monday's ATD, which is usually hosted by paper artist Russ Romano. I've seen many amazing art projects, learned about awesome postmarks, postage stamp history, and a lot more on different episodes. It's great to stop in for an hour to watch someone craft or design something unique. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard has an image of a Jungle Cruise boat with the skipper helping a woman on board. Above the image it reads, Adventureland Day Greetings. On the back it reads, A missive just for you. From Adventureland Day. This expedition, put on by Tiki Tony and Tiki Land Trading, is an unofficial dress-up day in Disneyland, where attendees follow clues and solve riddles in a treasure hunt, Kungaloosh. It's postmarked March 7th, 2023, with a Santa Ana cancel and a Red Barn Forever postcard postage stamp, Scott number 5547. It reads, Last postcard? Let me double check. Me. Thank you so much for the postcard, Adventureland Day Clocky. Sometimes I forget to send a postcard to myself to see how long it takes to get from Anaheim to Northern California. I was also interested to see how this postcard looked after going through the USPS mail system. Looking at some of the postcards I sent online, they seem to make it in pretty good condition. Mine has a few scuffs, but it adds a little bit of character to my postcard. This was in fact not my last postcard. I wrote a couple more before leaving. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would be awesome to share your favorite episode. There are over 100 episodes to choose from. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sent from Disneyland or on Twitter at Sent from Disney. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to its host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast.